Okay, the select board's meeting for Monday, November 1st, 2021 at 6 p.m. Is being convened. Those in attendance are Mr. Beatty, Mr. Fox, Mr. Moglen, Select Board AA Robin Solak, and Mr. Steinhardt. This meeting is being recorded.
So folks, we start off with a little communication issue with the Zoom as far as in-house here goes. We can't see the folks on the big screen that's on the stage, but we do have a computer and we do see everyone there. So can anyone hear us on Zoom? If someone could just say yes, just to make sure.
We can hear
We're
you.
good.
Good.
All right. Right. Well, yeah, we're never going to get both apparently. We'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief, start us off.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Fox?
Mr. Chairman, it was great sadness. I announced the passing of Finance Committee member this past Sunday, Robert Horatchuk, after a courageous battle from emergency heart surgery in July. Bob dedicated 22 years of service to the town of Southwick, serving on the Finance Committee, Capital Expenditures Committee, Community Preservation Committee, Open Space Committee, and the Cable Advisory Committee. Bob was a tremendous advocate for the taxpayers of Southwick. Whether you agreed or disagreed with Bob, you always knew where he stood. His loss will surely be felt for our community. So if we could please have a moment of silence for Bob Horatchuk. Thank you.
All right, first up will be public comment. We'll start with the first row. Your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Michelle Pratt, 152 Berkshire Ave. I do want to thank you for the recent changes to the public comments and the select board meeting minutes. I noticed that there's more reflection of the fact that certain folks spoke and the topic of what they spoke about. In regard to that, I'd like to see the meeting minutes amended from September, where there's no reference to who spoke or what they spoke about. It just says to see the recording. I think that that is a really awful way of not recording what the citizens have stood up to speak about. I know it's painful. I know it's embarrassing. They called for people to resign, and all of us are very sad about that. But it happened. And to have your minutes in there with everything you guys said, and to not have it reflected that we spoke and what we said, is almost like a further attempt to stifle our speech. And so we would like those meeting minutes to reflect who spoke, and just, it could be just like we did, Robin, like just a blurb of said this or said that would be fine. Obviously, we don't expect verbatim accounts. That's not the point, okay? That's one piece. I think as hard as it is, and I run big meetings, so I know how difficult it is to do the hybrid version of meetings. I think it's awesome. It might be difficult at home to hear what's being said and things like that, but it really allows people to participate more in town government, and everybody's kind of talked about that. We want more of that. So I know the group that I run, Citizens Restoring Congamon, we are going to continue to do that. We took a vote with our people, and they really want that. That way, if there's a single parent at home with kids, they don't have to get a babysitter. If someone's not feeling well that night, COVID's going to be with us for a long time. So I think that hybrid version, I'd really like to see that continue to be a part. I know it's pain, I know it doesn't always work well, but it is really great for people to be involved in town government. So I'd like to see that continue. I just wanted to let you know at the CPC meeting on October 27th, several people spoke up about what disservice it was to the town of Southwick to have had Commissioner Pratt removed from the Conservation Commission, which subsequently also removed him from Community Preservation. So that was very clear. People spoke up that they're very, very dissatisfied that occurred. I think you should know that, because I don't think you were on the meeting. Good and bad news also for you guys. I did tell you that I was going to submit an ethics complaint with the state, because I don't feel it was appropriate for you to not advertise that there were going to be positions becoming open conservation. I don't think it was appropriate the way the entire thing was handled. The commissioners weren't notified that it was going to be open. People in the Republican Party were notified about all kinds of openings that were coming up. The board members were not notified they were being dismissed, therefore had no chance at a hearing. Just everything stuck about the way the entire thing was done. So I told you I would file an ethics complaint, and I did. So apparently the Board of Ethics didn't see that, obviously you weren't receiving any money because of this, and they didn't see any direct political gain, even though it's your administrative assistant's son who has multiple violations against the committee, Department of Environmental Protection, and yada, 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 everything I've said before. They didn't feel it rose to the level of, an ethics complaint that they could screen in. So I wanted to make sure that you did know that. However, I also wanted to make sure that you knew what they did say. You know what they said? Bad government. You're running bad government. And I've been told that when you appoint friends and family to committees, that it's bad optics. It's not bad optics, it's bad practice. And the citizens of Southwick deserve much better than that. If you guys had been above board, if you discussed your candidates in open meeting like you should have, and you have those violations we're gonna hear about later, if you did that, and the people that you brought were like the best people for the job, hey, then we're okay with it. Like, we would never go and have a problem with that, because you did what you're supposed to do and you picked the best candidate. He may be the best candidate, we don't know, because it never happened. So there's those pieces there, and kind of getting back to that and getting back to your protocols. What we're going to do is be referencing select board protocols, page 7, relations with citizens. The board recognizes it both represents and is accountable to all citizens of the town. The board's policy to make every effort to strengthen communications with citizens. I don't think we're seeing that, because we've brought up a lot of complaints over the last couple of months that have gone unanswered. So we're going to follow your protocols. It says that we're allowed to submit for a meeting. We want that meeting to be public. We want that meeting to address the dismissal of the commissioners, your rationale for that, how you went about advertising for their replacements, how you voted for it, when you voted for it. We want to know it all. We will give you, Carl, the documents, the paperwork, what we're looking for, so you guys can be prepared. And then we'll be expecting a public meeting to address that, just so that you know that. Everything's all spelled out clearly. That's within our rights, but again, we wouldn't have to do it if you guys just gave us the answers at some point. I know you can't do it in open comment, but you could put it on your agenda for the next week, so you have it. So the last thing is a very painful thing that I need to bring up. It was just brought to my attention. When things come out, people are unhappy, they reach out with things. So what I have received today is a letter from Vicki Hickey from back in March. And I'm going to read it because at the close of this letter, Vicki specifically asked for this letter to be read in open meeting at a select board meeting. And to her knowledge, it was not read. To her knowledge, she and her husband have never received any kind of a comment, any kind of an apology, any kind of condolences, anything. So this is how the better, and I don't know if there was, I don't know that. I'm just merely here to read the letter for her, since it wasn't done by you guys, allegedly. Dear honorable select board members, I recently retired from the town of Southwick after 10+ years of service. I was employed as a clerk in the assessor's office, but prior to that, the planning board secretary and cemetery commission secretary. My husband and I recently sold our Southwick home and relocated to South Yarmouth. I recently had a very unsettling and needless incident occur, which I believe the select board should be made aware of and act upon, so that a new protocol can be put in place to prevent it from ever happening again. Early on the morning of January 23rd, 21, my son Shane Hickey died from a drug overdose at his home on Buckingham Drive. The police were called to the scene at approximately 6 a.m. to investigate the unattended death. We were not notified of his death until after 10 a.m. by the Yarmouth Police Department. The concern I wish to have addressed is that numerous people in Southwick found out about Shane's death prior to us being notified. In fact, I was actually sitting in a chair at a hair salon and began receiving condolence messages via text from Southwick friends. At this time, I was completely unaware of Shane's passing and had no idea what was happening. We didn't find out until shortly thereafter by the Yarmouth Police Department notifying my husband and I, at our South Yarmouth home. It was subsequently made aware to us that notification was given to some Southwick residents about what had transpired. I was advised that Select Board member Joe Didi had taken it upon himself to inform his family and other residents in town through numerous ways of communication about my son. Again, this was done prior to my husband and I being notified by proper officials. In fact, my daughter Emily, who still lives in this town, was one of the last to be made aware. I originally reached out to Chief Bishop to discuss my displeasure of what had happened and was assured by the department that it followed all current protocols. Apparently, this protocol was to notify the police commissioners immediately, which the Select Board member is one of, before anyone else had knowledge of the unattended death. Respectfully, I request that the Board of Selectmen immediately address the inappropriate protocols to avoid any further needless pain and, I'm sorry, it's a very poor copy, and lack of compassion in a time of extreme grief and sorrow. I request that this letter be read in an open meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Please address how this situation unfolded to ensure it will not happen again in the future. This is an extremely difficult situation for our family, and the circumstances caused more undue grief and stress, pain and stress. Respectfully, Vicki and Terrence. To that, I have no words.
Thank you. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to say, people are trying to get into the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Anyone?
Diane Gale, 5 Point Road Road. Do you have
Yes.
Diane Gale, 5 Point Road Road. Do you have the schedule for the meetings, the meeting schedules through the end of the year here today, that you could just read out?
I don't have it in front of me. I'll hopefully remember and we'll discuss it if you want.
All right, thank you.
I can tell you I won't be at a few of them. That's the good news. Anyone else from row one? Row two?
Hi, I'm Juliet Hanson, 153 North Farm Road. And I wanted to speak to the open comments section. Michelle has actually beaten me. We don't know each other, but she's actually beaten me to the punch here. But the specific question I have is about how there's a give and take in the open comments section. I understand the conflict committee. I'm the president of a Lake Homeowners Association in Woodstock, Connecticut, and we struggle with whether to have it in the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting so that people can comment as the meeting goes along. Sometimes if it's a short thing, we might answer it during the meeting. If it's more in depth or of a very conflicting nature, like I know you've experienced in the past few weeks, then we will put it off and discuss it at a next meeting, but we will always tell people and give them some sort of response. And so it's troubling to me that we have this time when people can make a comment, but they don't really get any feedback. I sent you all a letter a couple of weeks ago, and you may have seen it in the newspaper too, asking some questions about what happened when you fired or let go of commission members. And today I contacted Carl to see if I would ever get a response. But my question is, are you going to respond? Did you think there were rhetorical questions? How do you handle that when you have a meeting? How do you respond to the community about their concerns? Thanks.
Your address again?
153 North Farm Road.
Thank you.
Yep.
So realistically, we've always done it at the beginning. That's how it's always been, public comment, since the 9 years that I've been sitting here. That's how we've done it. And if there's simple questions, we're all different, no doubt about it. I do try to answer stuff that I think I can answer, but sometimes if I answer your question and I don't answer her question, then, he's the jerk that can't answer all the questions or he's hiding something. So it gets to the point where you just don't answer questions, but I do tell people, and if you check your minutes, you'll see it. I said, just email me and I'll find you the answer you're looking for, or I'll direct it in the right direction. And I do try it. I did see your email today, and I went through my emails and I couldn't see where you actually emailed me that letter.
I didn't.
No, I understood, but I got that email this morning, so I did reach out to Carl and I said, geez, I can't find the goddamn thing. But this stupid phone was down for about a week, so I'm assuming I just didn't get it. He then informed me, no, he believed you passed it out at a meeting. So I said, okay, there you go. So that's why I didn't have it in front of me or respond to your thing. But then there's something to do with what did or didn't happen with these boards. So once they filed their stuff against us, and I'm sorry, I don't know the right terminology, Michelle, and you can deal with me later on that. But once that's filed, we have so many, was it 14 days, 14 business days? So that's being worked on with an attorney, right, to get the answers so we can come back with those, which I'm hoping, I would think by next week. I don't know what the dates are because I don't have them in front of me once again. So once that starts, I can't just start talking about it because we've done our due diligence. You guys did yours. You filed against us and then we hand it off to the attorney because I guess that's what we're supposed to do with that particular package because that whole process of boards and commissions and how long they've been or not been on. And quite frankly, for 3 or 4 years now, I think we told everybody 1 year, whether it was right or wrong, I don't know, but that's what we did. And a lot of that for me personally, I wasn't here that night. So while we're on a discussion, fuck it, I'll talk. The bottom line is, yeah, sorry, this is what you got. But you know, I believe we sent the letter out, maybe it was 3 years. Asked every board and commission why you want to be there, more or less. I think we were, why you want to be there. Why are you on a board or a commission? Why are you on for 20 years? And you know, we did. And honestly, your board, sir, we got a standard answer back. So I think what a lot of them did, and it's not what we were looking for, is they just had their secretary say, this is what we do. And, you know, yada, yada, yada. And it's fine. But I think I was looking for more of a personal letters. I love conservation. I love ag. I love CD or the building one there. You know what I mean? Planning board, whatever. It's not an elected position, right? So we really didn't get that back from any board. I mean, it was all pretty much a boilerplate. We love our job or what board or commission we're on. And it was kind of just all the same. So we went to a 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. I think realistically we were, I don't know, probably trying to figure things out and it just stayed that way. And then this all happens and here we are. That's my opinion, not theirs, mine. Okay, so that's where we're at. And you'll hopefully have some results here for the next meeting. You know, we carried on the agenda, so I think everyone thinks every week we're going to discuss it because it's there. You kind of have to carry it. So that's how we do it. And maybe in Connecticut where you are, maybe it's a little different. You can do it at the end. Maybe it's not as confrontational at times as it is here, right? So it's different. I understand. And I apologize for swearing, but that's just how it is lately.
So
Okay.
just a follow-up.
Sure.
Let me just make sure.
And I'm sorry, guys. It's just the way it's going to be.
Do you mind going up to Owl so that everybody can hear? Thank you.
So just a follow-up, so I get it straight.
Well, and this is my opinion. So whether you get it straight or not, or whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. So continue.
Okay, well, that's confusing.
No, it's not confusing.
Is it confusing for everybody that we don't know?
Ma'am, just direct it at me, please.
And I was not aware that it takes 14 days to get a response for a very timely issue. If you'll just point me to where that says that, then I'll become more familiar with
I'll
it.
have it sent to you tomorrow morning.
And I will just say too that, you know, I understand that Connecticut is different from Massachusetts. I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
I understand the conflict of how you get back to people and how you do it in a reasonable way. Perhaps in the future, you could have someone send an email to somebody and say, we'll get back to you in 14 days, instead of just ignoring it. But
Sure,
the
you're right.
crux of the matter is, from what I'm reading and from the meetings I've attended, that, and I voted for all three, by the way, is that I guess we got a little lax and we trusted you to do the right thing for us. And now many of us, and when I say many, I mean many, don't trust you anymore. And that's why.
And that's
we're here.
fine. That's all well and good.
Okay, well,
I mean, what can you do? I can't
that's
change
not a
that.
satisfactory answer.
But what am I going to do to change you to
I
trust
don't
me?
know.
Right.
Isn't that your job?
Well, I
Instead
got
of
elected
saying,
to
"This
do a
is my
job.
opinion," But we
Well,
don't
it is my
really
opinion.
know what
That
we're
is my
doing, because they
opinion.
can think something else.
But that is my
You're the
opinion.
Board of Selectmen.
Yes, I am.
You're supposed to be making decisions together. For the.
This discussion I'm having with you is me and you having a discussion, not the three of us.
So, all right.
Like I
then
said,
that's
right?
concerning. I'll just leave it there.
Well, see,
That's concerning that I
see,
can't bring something.
that's
up to
why
the
I don't have to
board.
answer the question, but I did just trying to say, this is kind of where I'm coming from, not trying to upset you. You know what I mean?
Believe me, I'm not upset. I'm just
Okay.
saying, I thought I was addressing the board of selectmen, not just you personally.
No, I understand that, but
So-
they're not gonna comment, they don't comment under public comment. I just thought I would, and I guess I shouldn't have. But I mean,
I appreciate you.
yeah, it's all good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from row two?
I think,
Name, please, and address.
I'm sorry, no.
I'm sorry.
I'm part of Sorry. So 16, anyway.
No,
62 Davis Road, West Corner Valley. I think what it is that people,
you gotta talk a lot louder.
oh, you want me to talk louder?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes, I do.
All right. I can talk louder. Okay. I think what we're boiled down to is that there's such a lack of communication. And we need for everybody to get together and know exactly what's going. If you have issues with other departments and, or like say the agriculture or whatever,
Yeah.
you guys need to speak up and say something. But I also think that the opening of the meetings, there should be a change in it. I think there should be a time where you should have maybe 1 or 2 questions that you can answer instead of waiting for that 14-day period. So people aren't getting frustrated. I know you don't like the idea, but it's the town people that need to know what's going on. They need to be able to trust you. And right now, it's like out the window.
I usually don't answer. I don't want to have something get conflated. There's a statutory 14 days under the open meeting law
Okay, that's
complaint.
fine.
No. So I
That's
think
right.
what my peer was saying was, there was an open meeting law violation
Right.
filed. We have 14 days that we have to respond to that, and we're going to do it in due
But
course.
what about,
Generally speaking, if it's something non-controversial, somebody asks a
Okay.
question, hey, how do I get a dog license? I'm just making it up. And we know the answer, we'll carry that under old business.
okay,
But what happens under public comment, especially of late, is there's a mixture of opinion and fact. And the questions become nigh impossible, in my opinion, to answer to anyone's satisfaction, that without doing a disservice to the select board itself and the way the question was presented. And without calling out anyone in particular, it's been going on for weeks, right? And it's very, very difficult. So we have legal documents in front of us we need to answer to. We will absolutely do that. And previous, if people ask a question and it's something I take a note, Ms. Marshall takes issue with me taking notes, I apologize. But if it's something we can get back to someone, we generally do. If it's a question of a matter of fact, right?
okay.
That's all I want to say about that.
All right,
'cause-
I don't have a problem with that. It's just
Appreciate
that I think that there's a way to go about it, and I don't think it's going the right way. And like I said, people here need to have an answer. And even if, before these bylaws, questions that were brought up, is other issues too. It's just not about the violations. It's about everything that goes on in town. You know, like I said, like people have said, you were selected on a board, okay? You're here to help us. I'm not trying to say that I'm the bad guy. I'm trying just to point out that people want answers. And sometimes the answers are not getting answered right away. That's all I'm saying. And I think we need to address those and address them to the people, the town. They are the ones that put you in these positions.
And like I said, if you do email me a question, I do my
That's
best to
fine,
get
that's
back
fine.
to
I
you
have
either
no
way.
problems,
No, I know,
but-
but I'm just, so,
I have no issues. It's just that right now it's just how things are being done.
Correct.
And it's not being done the correct way. And things have to be changed. And it has to be changed a certain way. If it's to do different ways for a meeting, fine, or move, or do something with the board, that's fine. But right now, we need to worry about the town and worry where it's going and now what's gonna be coming back, or what the delay or the problems are gonna be. We need to address this, not for just for Michelle Fetz and for Marissa and what's the other name? Dennis. We need to get that corrected. And we also need to make sure that when these jobs, you just can't automatically just give it to somebody. You have a procedure on how to go about and do it. And that wasn't done. And that is wrong. So I'm gonna leave it to that, and I hope that you can understand how the people feel, and then you can eventually address it. Sorry,
Thank you.
that's the way it is.
Thank you. Row 2. We'll take her first.
Maria Rathbone, Pinnacle Drive. I don't, just a quick question. You had said you sent out letters to the boards to try to get,
I will for next week find out when we did that. It was
or how
probably,
it went out, maybe did it go out via email to each person? I'm just wondering how would the person have been told about that letter? Like, did it go to the secretaries and the secretaries?
I don't recall.
know.
I don't
I
recall.
was just
But it
curious.
was done, and it was probably 3 years.
I've never seen such.
I promise you, I'll get you the copy of, hopefully I can probably get the copy of your department, because yours was the funny one, because they were all the same exact letter, which I wasn't expecting, you know what I mean? I thought you would have said something different, I would have said something different. It was not a bad thing, it just, I think we got to the point personally, we're like, do they even want to be on them? Because you look at some boards and some of the folks, you know, they're not here all season long. And it, you know, and thank God for Zoom, right? Because they work.
I mean,
Zoom, everyone actually came to every
Makes
meeting.
sense why you send them out to every board at the same time.
We did.
See somebody not showing up at the meeting and then maybe ask them why they're not coming. But to send
But
them
we-
out blanket
we-
to everybody.
we did it
kinda
once.
has
Yeah.
a tone to it.
We did it once and the results weren't what I was looking for, so.
I was just
I'm
trying to
sorry.
find out the method of delivery, because if it went to the secretaries and then the secretary was supposed to distribute it, maybe.
Understood, but we did get responses back. I'm not saying we didn't get them, it was just that, you know, so us three said, geez, we love being selectmen, signed by one Russ Fox, one Jody, you know, same, you know, geez, Christ, the same paragraph. You know what I mean? It wasn't what I was looking for. I thought I was looking for someone to say, oh, we love this job, and this is why. And that's just me. I didn't get that back, and I was like, oh, that sucks, you know? I thought we put some heart into it, but I guess we didn't. Row 2. Yes. You're fine. We're not giving you a new roof, but you're fine.
I don't need one. I'm only 12 years old. I feel funny talking like this because I don't want to turn my back. But
Understood.
I can tell you why people don't trust you anymore, and that's because of the Beeling project. And if you haven't figured that out, and you made it worse by removing 3 people from boards because they didn't agree with you, and you did it illegally. So why are you surprised? You know? I never had a problem with you guys before, and I have a big problem now because this kind of government does not belong in itself. Like, we deserve better, and we will get better. And I'll tell you, I was at the school district accountant and the benefits plan administrator for almost 18 years. I had to observe 13 different contracts and all of the state laws regarding payroll, federal laws regarding payroll, and the PAYE Act laws, which are retirement. And with the contracts especially, if we did not go to the letter of the contract, you set a precedent. And when you set a precedent, the doors are open and anybody can do it. And you just set a precedent. So what is stopping us from saying you're fired? Because you set a precedent and you should have thought of that before. And that was drummed into me when I went there. And that's a government agency who's not part of the town, if anybody's wondering about it, because I get that a lot. We had a lot of employees that when they went for workers' comp, the town of Southwick. I got to know your benefits person really well, Irene. But I'm very disappointed in you, as you know. But instead of doing this after the debacle that you made of Carvana, because that, if you say you like conservation, how could you say yes to that? Look into that company. We have ad nauseum. They're not reputable. They're unethical. They're up on charges for insider trading and abnormal accounting practices. They lie about, they told you they were worth 51 point something billion dollars. That's their total stock. They don't own that. They're worth negative their returned earnings is in the negative millions, and it's not even being done right, because if you add up their losses for every year, it comes out to way more than what they're reporting. And that's what they're up on charges for. And you wanted to let them in. Why is anyone gonna trust you? You owed us an apology, and then you did this. You owe us an apology for that too, and you need to make it right. It's not fair to us, and it's not fair to the citizens. It's not fair to you, because you make yourself look bad, and you make the whole town look bad. Thank you.
Anyone else from row 2? Row 3, oh. We'll go back to row 1.
Want to go through row 3?
Let me finish, please. Okay, I won't, just, wait, we'll get to you. Row 3. Anyone else in the room? You have the floor.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Cook Overground, 126 South Loomis Street. I just wanted to point out when Mrs. Juliet Hanson started mentioning her comments in terms of how it's done in Connecticut. I appreciate that you engaged Mr. Deedy and you too, Mr. Moblin. But there was one point I did want to clarify that I wasn't quite sure if I understood correctly or not. I know that you said 14 days from when you get a legal complaint.
I
And
believe it's
that's
14 business
14
days.
business days when you get a legal
I
complaint.
believe, yes.
And that's when that will solicit some sort of response,
I
research
think it has
from
to.
you guys, correct, legally.
Right.
Is that the only method that we have to get a response from you? What other?
I think of something of that
process?
nature, that's probably the right way to do it, isn't it?
Okay,
Right, of that.
this was an
Nature.
open meeting law complaint that I think you were referencing in terms of the 14
All
business
the
days.
complaints that were issued. How's
Okay.
that? Every one of them, and I think we
Well,
have a
that's what
new
we're
one.
discussing
And I think
tonight.
we have a new one tonight too, that is issued.
Correct, that's an
But I
open,
don't think it's been 14 business days to discuss, because I haven't heard back from the attorney to discuss it.
correct.
Okay,
So what other ways do we have in order to get a response from you apart from filing legal complaints? Are all the comments here simply just ignored? What other methods do people have at their disposal to submit these to you in a way that will solicit a response, even if it's 14 business days? What other ways are there?
I did say earlier, if you have a question and you email me, I will do my best to get back to you, correct? Did I say that?
Correct. Is that going to be made public though? Because these are questions that are being asked
If
publicly.
you have a question for me, please email me, and I will do my best to
No, the
get back to
question,
you.
when it is sent to you, Mr. Deedy, to your email, you have
Oh,
a way of making that public on some sort of platform.
Oh,
so that
I got you, I'm sorry, I got
Yeah.
you. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I've never done it that way. I've always answered the question, or
Right,
got the answer.
because there's a lot of repeat questions here week after.
No, there is,
We're
and
hearing
I'm
that.
afraid I'm gonna get bombarded tomorrow, to
Right,
be quite
right.
honest
So
with
I'm
you.
wondering if there's
And I
a
get
way
that. No, I
that you would
don't,
consider answering publicly. If you were to get an email from one of us tonight,
Right.
and you answer that.
Right.
Is there a way to publish that so that we're not asking you the same question over and over? How do I
well,
know
that,
they didn't
that
send
I
that,
would
that
probably,
they
if
didn't
I
send
got the
that?
question again, then I would probably send it to you, but if you send me a question, I don't think I have the right to then turn around publicly and say that you had this. Me and you are communicating in an email, correct?
Can I
So-
tell you in my email that I'd like this to be?
You
made
can tell me whatever
public?
you want in your email, which you will, but I'm just saying, I don't know if I would, we're just hypothetically speaking,
Right,
correct? Okay.
Right,
So I don't know if I would have, if the email didn't say, please tell 9,500 people about the question, then I probably wouldn't. And I don't know how I would do that anyways, quite honestly, right?
I mean.
I'm not gonna start a
have social media,
YouTube channel to sit there and,
Channel 15, something. I'm
yeah,
just
Channel
wondering.
15
I
might be
mean,
a
we're
way.
trying to work here to
No, I get
establish
you,
some
and
sort
I'm-
of protocol that is
Right.
proper and transparent,
Yeah.
that will protect you as well as protect us in terms of basic checks and balances. So
Yeah.
I would implore you to please consider some sort of way that we can submit these. If that includes us writing in the email, please
Well, I just
share
think-
this.
Quite honestly, we can talk all we want.
But I'm
and this
asking
is-
for an
no,
answer.
no, no, but
in
this is
terms of
me.
Your method,
That
yeah, so
I
that
say
we can do
email,
that
I say
properly.
the email, that way I actually have it in front of me and I can actually do something. Because what we discussed tonight may not always walk back home with me and go, oh, I
So it
gotta
doesn't
make,
translate into
or I gotta,
practice
well,
necessarily.
believe it or not, we do a lot of things as you do too. You have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, we all do. We
Right,
all
so it
do.
doesn't mean that every question asked like this
Yeah.
actually makes it home and gets answered the next day. Of
Well,
course
that's
not.
what we're
but
trying to clarify. The
Understood.
best
That's
way
why
of
I said
trying
if
to
you had emailed
communicate
me,
with
then
you
at least I
and get
have
that
a-
answer.
At least if you would email me, I would have that trained to then take that and get you the answer.
Okay,
I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tell 9,500 people the answer,
okay.
but we can work on that.
But people can
We
mention that
work
in their
on that.
email and say, I give you consent.
Well, you can say it all you want. I still don't know how I would then do that.
Yeah,
Right,
I'll let
you
you
understand.
research. I'll let you mull on that.
Yeah,
but
I'll mull
It's
on
good
that.
that we know what we can do on this side to make it
Like
a
I
little
said
bit
before,
more
if you just
streamlined.
email me, I'll do my best to try to
Thank
help.
you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. D.
One more and then we're
Well, I
going.
got one, I got
All
one.
right, okay, go ahead. And this is all my
I just
fault,
want
I'm
to pay
sorry.
a compliment. Marissa, I love the hat.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that is
That is
nice.
a cool hat. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a fantastic hat.
Weren't we supposed to go hat shopping one day?
We talked
we
about
talked
it.
about
I'm
going
telling
hat
you,
shopping,
I'm
but we
sucker
never
for
do
hats.
it.
It's a great hat.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to follow up real quickly. Thank you. We have been somewhat criticized for social media, and I just want to say,
You?
I have, excuse me, not by you.
No,
No, he's
okay.
being facetious.
No, I'm like, you've
He's
been
being
criticized?
facetious.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Oh,
yes.
I never see that, okay.
Yes, but I have emailed you, and I appreciate every
I-
response
did I get back?
I have emailed you, got responses, and
I
I
truly
thank you for
try.
that. The kinds of questions that I ask are for public information, and I have been trying to put correct information out to the public using social media. Some of you don't appreciate that, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you get that information out there. And I think that's part of the way you have to do it. There's got to be a town of Southwick. maybe
You know,
it's-
it'd be
maybe it's a
wonderful if
public
you could do
comment.
that and you could do it where they couldn't comment, because unfortunately, you might comment okay. She might comment okay, but someone that lives in, you know where I'm going, right?
I know what you-
Then it just snowballs into this mess and you're like, what the hell happened? I'm just trying to answer a question.
Yeah.
So that's kind
know
of why
it's
I
a
don't,
I know it's a catch 22,
It
because I
is.
get the same thing.
It
I
is.
get nasty responses to the good
Yep.
information I
Well,
put out there.
that-
It's not easy,
No,
but I'm trying to help you get information out to
oh,
those
I
people
understand.
too.
Appreciate it.
Just wanted to,
Okay,
I mean, there's good uses for it.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there anyone
there's
on
a
Zoom?
Dory on Facebook that would like to
On Zoom?
speak under public.
On Zoom.
What did I
You
say?
said Facebook.
I mean, she might be on Facebook too, but
She
she's on
probably is.
Zoom as well.
Okay, go ahead. Or unmute yourself, please.
Dory Boyd, 44 Bug. I was just wondering if the recordings of the meetings could be included in the meeting minutes. Sometimes it's hard to find the minutes with the recordings separate. So if we could have a direct link to the recording, it would make it easier to follow along.
On YouTube kind of thing, you mean, right? With a link to go to wherever that video is lying.
From the PDF of the minutes, yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay, thank you. I'll see what we can do. Anyone else on Zoom?
I'm trying so hard.
How are you today, Kimberly? Go ahead. She's still there? Kimberly Lamar.
She is. She accidentally muted herself instead of unmuting.
Am I there now?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
you are.
Thank you. I just want to say that having a potty mouth is very unbecoming of a public official, and that I hope you will consider this when representing us in the future. Thank you.
I know, you also complain about my clothes all the time too. I appreciate that.
I have said something about your method of dress. However, everyone does have their idea of what a representative should be, so I'm just letting you know about mine.
Thank you. Anyone
My
else?
pleasure.
There's a Zoom user, I think I know who it is, but I don't want to misguess. I think it's Sage.
Sage?
How do you have a potty mouth?
Sure.
Hi, Sage Fury, 91 Granville Road. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, just for a comment, and so people know, I am still working on getting an open communication for everybody. I think I've found a way to use Teams between all the boards, commissions, and even the public, but I just need more time. Just letting people know, hey, there might be an option for us, and I will present it to you guys once I figure out all the stuff. But I may have something for us eventually. Thinking maybe January. Hopefully I
Okay,
get the
thank you.
time for it, but just take a little heat off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anyone else on Zoom? Oh, I see. It's always, okay.
And there's no one in the waiting room.
No one in the waiting room. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right, wasn't bad. Payable, acknowledged payable warrant 2211 dated 10/26/2021 in the amount of $246,204.11. Minutes for open session dated 10/25/2021.
Russ Fox will make that motion to approve. Doug Mogul will second.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye. Doug Mogul, aye.
Executive session minutes dated 10/25/2021.
Russ Fox will make that motion to approve. Doug Mogul will second.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye. Doug Mogul, aye.
ARPA funds allocation for DPW, LMC, and public health recommendations.
Folks, Randy here.
Yeah, Randy, how are you today? Wonderful. Did that number go down at all? Nope. Thank you. So gentlemen, we've had this stuff in front of us for 2 weeks now, and this is the money that came in through the ARPA.
That's correct.
So they're hoping for us to act on it tonight while I'm here, so they can move forward should we decide to do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
obviously, in the past several meetings, you've had a series of people come before you to ask for different requests. There was the transmission water main line completion that
Yes.
Randy put in, so that was 600. You also had a, let's see, sewer-related Prifty Park pump station. Again, that design is done and that's ready to go. That's 300. You had the issues relating to the lake flooding issues. So Dick came in and we went through the issues with lake management. So that was about 220,000 with 5,000 more for those temporary batter boards while the other stuff is being worked on.
Yep.
And then another 30 to 40,000 for replacing infrastructure throughout the buildings relating to recommendations by the health director on the water fountains and things of that nature.
Yes.
So when you're done putting that all together, you're over the $1,125,000 number. And since these are all estimates, these things haven't gone out to bid. Even, Randy's numbers, Dick's numbers, everybody will tell you, you really have to see what the bids look like when they come in. So the important thing is you have to leave yourself some level of contingency. So by the time you're building that in, you're basically up to about the 1,000,004 allocation that you received this year in 2 installments from the federal government.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you'll be getting those installments again next year. So that would really be the 4 items that you're looking to do so that you're also accommodating for, issues with increased prices. Because right now with all the construction that's going to be coming out of ARPA in the United States and all the issues relating to supplies and materials, and logistics and sourcing and things like that, I think you just have to plan that into your number. So I would be reluctant to go beyond those 4 or 5 items that we've just discussed so that you can keep some level of contingency and we can be able to address issues as those bids come in and we can accommodate for that when we're doing the awards.
So we won't see any more money till, say, this time next year?
That is correct. You will not be seeing other allotments until next year.
My only question is to Mr. Moblin, this whole internet and fiber, realistically, where it's got to go to town meeting, where do we go with that? So
That's
before
next
you
year's votes.
well, that's what I'm getting at, but that was Mr. Moblin, educate me, please.
Yeah, it would have to go in front of 2 successive town meetings. I did have a question that I have an email on my computer that I didn't send. There was some ancillary documents, and the only reason I'll cast it as an aside, there was some ancillary documents in something else I was reading. And perhaps it's moved, but there was in the town meeting document that the Southwick already had a municipal utility. Now, perhaps it was discontinued at some point in the future and formally decommissioned,
but I need to send an email to council to see, or to the clerk to see if that thing actually exists, and that would change things at all. But it was interesting to me that I read it and go,
Actually see
well,
it.
here it was that we had it.
Are you referring to maybe a municipal light plant in the 1930s?
Could have been,
I think at one time.
but that's
And
what we
I'm
would
not
have
a
to
native,
force.
so I'm not as old as Mr. Fox.
No, I wasn't gonna bring that up.
But
I-
I think one of
Was
the
there a
things they
Fox
talk,
Electric at one time that we don't know about? That I wanna
the
hear
town
about?
of Southwick sold it's
To Eversource.
electric.
It became Eversource.
Exactly.
So I
to
don't know if
electric.
that means we no longer have it, but
It does.
my suggestion in all of this, thanks for, just to bring this to a conclusion quickly, which is about impossible now,
Yeah.
is to hold back a small amount of this ARPA money, and I mean double-digit thousands in the, like 10,
10,000.
or 10 or 15,000, because if this board gets back from the ad hoc advisory committee a way forward, and then they can use some of that money as seed money to start the process, the legal process and the rest of the process in order to do that. If it doesn't happen, good, that money is available for expenditure in next year's ARPA kit, but this would obligate it, and I think it would go a long way. Some of these other projects don't necessarily, they're hugely beneficial. The lake one especially, this is, another investment in the lake that the state should have made and/or the federal government should have made. So I kind of look at that and go, yeah, that's a no-brainer. This is federal money. Let's commit it and use it for what the federal government and/or the state government, because it's a great pond, should have done of their own volition, much like the lake funding for the alum treatment that the taxpayers in Southwick are carrying around. But, and some of these others are, they're direct infrastructure. They don't necessarily benefit everyone, but they will be beneficial in making it better, the town better for everyone. Not everybody's a water user or a sewer user. So spending ARPA money there, it's a worthwhile endeavor, that it needs to be done, but that creates a balance. And I think also on the high-speed internet, it's an opportunity for us for something, because, and this is from Mr. Fox, and it's been a tenet that we've adhered to, is if we do anything with high speed, it's got to be the whole town, right? I get it. We could probably do some of it right now. Jump off the rail trail, get to here, get to there, be done with it. If we don't offer this to everybody, it's a non-starter. And I'm not picking on your age, because this is really recent history. When Continental came to town in the 80s, that was a requirement. And it was a genius decision at the time, because there's plenty of towns. Hell, Westfield itself is in the same boat with their own high-speed internet. They haven't offered it to every resident in town. They haven't built it out yet. So if we do it, we're going to offer it to everyone. Maybe not in the first minute, because it takes time to build out, but it needs to be done. And it needs to be part of the charter in how you do it as an MLP. So that's just my suggestion.
They have, as Doug and I met with them, they have to get what's called their take.
Yes.
It's a certain, term that they use in utilities to make sure that they're gonna be able to get their money. So the number you're suggesting was 10?
$10,000 or $15,000 out of this $1.4 million, just as seed money. If the high-speed internet subcommittee comes back and the board says, yes, good, we need to go and appropriate monies to fund legal pieces, to get articles on warrants and blah, 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 to move it forward, and we got to go to 2 town meetings to get that done. So you're still a ways away from doing it. And then hopefully by the time we've solved all the other OML issues, we'll be able to get some more qualified folks. And let me rephrase, additional qualified folks onto the high-speed internet sub to give good advice to this board.
So that's 5 items.
5 items. Thank you. I would like that included, the 10 or 15,000.
That's fine.
And I mean, and if the estimates all come in high anyways, we're gonna knock the bottom stuff off no matter what.
Correct.
So,
Right, so if the board makes a motion to have those 5 items identified at their estimated costs, and then the balance of the funds up to the amount of money on hand, that becomes the contingency, and then we'll just make a spreadsheet that reflects that.
So why don't we just rattle them off now so everybody's on the same page and we're not taking in public comments questions about what we just voted for?
Yep.
So what are those 5 items, Carl?
600,000 for the transmission line on College Highway, which is a water-related project.
Yep.
And then a sewer-related project, the estimate for Prifty Park Pump Station was 300. The lake management related issues for the weir gates and the batter boards was about 225,000. And then the public health related issues on replacing all of the water bottle filling stations throughout all municipal buildings, exclusive of the schools, because they're a separate government, is estimated in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, based upon stuff you have in your folder that Jim Mazik had originally estimated. And then lastly, the high-speed internet related issues of $15,000.
Russ Fox will make that motion. Doug Mogul will second.
All those in favor, Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, Doug Mogul, aye.
Thank you.
And just, Mr. Chairman, I should have said this during discussion, just for clarification. All these do affect the entire town of Southwick. I mean, the water pressure issue affects insurance for the entire town. Sewer affects health issues in the town of Southwick. The cleaning up of Congamon Lakes affects considerably the assessment values of properties down there, the activities that take place, all the money that we did, millions of dollars that we in the state and the federal government invested into the lakes. The water issue is obviously an important issue for people using the drinking water. We want to make sure that it's safe, and the fiber optics that's the wave of the future. So, and that benefits the entire town.
I
All
heard
right, so
fiber
Mr.
optics.
Chairman,
Yeah,
let me remind everybody that obviously these items we just voted on are within our ARPA allocation.
yes.
Separate and distinct from that is the process that you and I went through with Senator Vilas and Representative Boldiga's office for, they have state dollars that they were looking for ARPA-related projects. So we merely just took the second water project
Yes.
and the second online sewer project, and we gave them all the other equipment earmarks
We did.
through the budget process, where we had garnered some radio money, and we had garnered, let's see, the tourism grant.
Yep.
So now that's back on the table with them, because the chief, the police chief and the fire chief are gonna need, obviously, you know, possibly more money for the radio project for a local share on our regional dispatch.
Right.
And then there's all the other equipment issues like.
Randy,
trucks
I
and
loaded it up with
paving.
everything at DPW's wish list.
Right, so this is all the same stuff that.
We're gonna get none of it.
before.
But it's on there.
Because the state legislature, both houses have decided they want to come up with their own ARPA spending plan, separate and distinct than the one that the governor submitted.
Correct.
So that is a follow-up to this. It
Yes,
is
it
related
is.
to this.
Yeah.
But it's some of the other projects that we didn't get to in this authorization that could be done elsewhere.
Hopefully.
All right, sir.
Thank you. Recognize Mass EOTTS cybersecurity notification. Young man?
One of our, was that a compact deal? It was taken out of part of the community compact projects the town undertook
Yeah.
in a couple of years ago. Was we did some cyber security upgrades in town hall, yada, yada. And then this past year, the state offered cities, towns, and school districts to participate in kind of a end user computing side of cybersecurity, because that really becomes the weak link, right?
Yeah.
So I'm proud to say that Southwick Public Safety, the Southwick, Tallinn, Granville Regional School District, and the town of Southwick had a very significant participation rate and completion rate and high marks in participating in that training. And there was an award ceremony held virtually last week that they recognized all the cities and towns that participated, and Southwick was one of them. So, you know, kudos to town hall staff, members of boards and commissions and so on that took forth in that training and passed it. You know, cities and towns around here have been the victims of cybercrime, whether it's ransomware, whether it's, you know, money's being sent to the wrong place. So, you know, Zoom bombing, et cetera. So, you know, every little bit that we can do to protect the taxpayers and the residents of the town, we're trying to do. So that's all.
Thank you. Okay, review open meeting law complaint dated 10/26/2021 for your action. Is that what's next? Yeah, that's next. Okay.
I think we skipped over that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did, huh? right of, I can't put a check mark next to it. Right of first refusal for 83 College Highway. So Carl, this is,
That's a first right of refusal that had come in a number of weeks ago, and Robin sent it out to all the relevant boards, and we did not receive any inputs on these parcels. I think they're just continuing to carve up the land down on the old Waterman Farm. Is that
83
correct, Mr.
College
Fox?
Highway, yeah.
It is. It's approximately 3.93 acres.
I noticed the barn fell in.
Yeah. That's probably that parcel.
Right, so this has been prepared by the assessor's office for the select board to.
Says it belongs to Sharon Crowe. CKOW.
Scowera.
Hmm?
Scowera.
Scowera, okay. All right, so what do we need to do? Take action on it?
Yeah, Russ Fox will make the motion to approve.
I'll second the motion to waive our right of first refusal.
All right, all those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay. Review open meeting law complaint dated 10/26/2021 for action. So Carl, do we put this with the other ones?
You, Mr. Chairman, yeah, you have
Ben
two of them.
Coyle, and then have Russ deal with it, because I will be gone.
If that's the board's wish, it should still
Mr.
designate
Mogul, what would you
Mr.
like
Fox
to
to
do?
deal with it.
Yeah, this is the process we've been following is fine.
Mr. Fox, what would you like to do?
I've been working with town council, the CAO, town clerk, and additional staff. Last meeting with town council was 7:30 a.m. on Friday. It's our intent to respond in timely fashion within the 14 business days. Or hope.
Okay. This 14 days doesn't start till,
Right.
started the day it got dropped in.
But the complaints are similar in nature.
Absolutely.
So I think that we might be able to answer all the complaints at the same time. At least that would be my goal.
We don't have to make a motion or anything, Carl, there's nothing.
Just for you to designate the,
Which we just did.
whichever particular board member you want to deal with that issue with
So
council.
Mr.
Make sure
Fox
that
will be
response-
dealing with it with Ben Coyle from Bacon and Wilson and these, what are you, COA, CAO? Which one is it? CAO?
CA.
Okay, I'm sorry, CA. It's been a long day.
I think he's looking for a formal motion, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that's what I said.
I'll make the motion to have Mr. Fox spearhead that effort. And I'll provide any input that I may have direct to council per the open meeting law itself.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Doug Mogul, aye.
Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
It's that time of year. Clerical union request consolidate 2 half-days into 1 full day. Or 1 full day off, December 27th, 2021. Every year we go through this exercise, it seems.
It's a Saturday.
So this will be Monday.
Right. So the
So
Monday-
instead of doing a half day before, half a day on a Thursday, and then a half a day the following Friday,
Right,
it would just be.
that Monday.
Right, you're just combining.
Right, so they'll be open both Fridays.
No, because you're still closed on the Friday.
We close down-
Instead of 2 Thursdays. You're
Oh,
open
I'm
on
sorry.
2 full
Okay, so
Thursdays.
it's 2 Thursdays. I'm sorry, not Fridays.
Right.
So we're open on the Thursdays. Unless you have personal time, sick time, and every other time under the sun, which then lets you not have to be there. Correct?
No, the building is open. and
The building is open,
And
yes.
operating.
And I usually stroll through around 3:45. Yeah. We're good. That's all good.
Russ Fox will make the motion to approve.
Doug Mogul will second it.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Decision on any information for inserts on townwide mailing for census.
The town clerk's office in the near future will be working on a census mailing, so this is your time to decide if you want to have an insert put into those bills.
Sure, camera.
When's the cutoff?
I think you have a couple of weeks. So it's all right. November 29th,
November 29th.
Yeah, these two.
so we can carry that forward if you'd like.
I'd like to carry it forward.
Okay, make a motion to carry it forward.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul. Okay, just carry that under old business, correct?
Correct.
Essentially table it, right?
And then next up, I put Southwick Community Development Program Financial Warrant number 2 in the amount of $5,200.84.
Russ Fox, I'll make that motion.
Second,
That is for the Pioneer Valley PC labor was 221436, and another direct cost of 275 even, which gets us to that number. And that is from 7/1/2021 to 7/31/2021. Is
For
there,
the community development
Yep.
block grant,
right,
the regional planning agency acts as our contracted community development department.
correct. So, motion was made and seconded, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Southwick Community Development Program Financial Warrant number 3 in the amount of $6,755.30.
Russ Fox will make that motion.
Second,
Once again, it's the minor amount of labor. It's,
It's for August bill. The other
Yep.
one was July. This is
yep, this is August, which was 6173.19. And then training, seminars and advertising was another 582.11, which gets us to the final number. Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay. Now what I have is new business next on my thing. Any new business, Mr. Steinhardt?
I just want to let the board know I've been working with Buildings and Grounds interim department head Art Lawler and I are going to be working with Lee Hamburg. I talked to Lee today about the developing with the historical commission the RFP for the cupola and roof assessment so that we can seek out qualified firms to undertake that process that was approved at the town meeting.
Okay. Anything else?
So that's it.
That's it. Mr. Fox?
No, sir.
Mr. Mogul? New business.
I got nothing.
I don't have anything. Okay. So next up will be old business and dates to remember. Right?
I know my agenda's out of date, but did you take that off from the draft?
No, that's not, yeah. No, we can still go over those things if you
All right,
want.
Mr. Chair, just
What do you
being
have?
the clerk over here,
Yep.
tax title auction results.
Oh, I did
Right,
see
those are in
that.
your
That was on the
folder.
other one.
Yep,
So
it was in the folder.
The funds came in to satisfy the amount of tax lien money, and then any overage on that will go to a escrow account for a number of years.
We did actually very well on both
Oh,
of those
yeah.
parcels. They both sold.
Just by state law, it has to go into escrow for a period of time.
Yep, 5 years. And then the other item that Doug was going to refer to was obviously Randy, as DPW director, just wanted to inform us that the Westfield City Council may be looking at an increase in their sewer rates, which by extension under our IMA influences the rates that Randy would then have to come forward to your board as sewer commissioners for consideration of approval.
When is our agreement with the city of Westfield end?
Well,
Was it, I think.
23 or 24, right in there, right?
What was it again, Randy?
I think in 18 months.
I felt like it was just yesterday that they went up, but it's probably been, what, 2 years?
You're talking about the entire.
Tire.
Oh, the tire.
25-year IMA agreement that was signed from 23.
Gotcha.
The only reason why I mentioned it, Mr. Chairman, I've reached out informally to some of the Westfield City Councilors and the mayor, and had some informal discussions about working together. I think that the agreement that was negotiated 25 years ago certainly wasn't in the favor of the town of Southwick. And I look at some of the agreements that we've had with our sister city of Westfield, you know,
Since then,
right.
Yeah.
Where we've worked with them to get natural gas to them. We're thinking about working on fiber optics. We've just signed an agreement on a regional dispatch, our proposed regional dispatch. And I got some positive feedback from people that, you know, that they would be at least willing to take another look at the rate that Southwick people are charged, or the town's charged. And then we have to pass that on to the users, because we're being assessed at one of the highest rates possible. You know, we're at a commercial rate. And years ago, that facility was sold as a regional facility, even if they don't call it a regional
we've
facility.
invested over there.
That was one of the things sold where they got state and federal money. So I'd like to maybe begin the process. Well, they have an election tomorrow. After the election, I guess we can, you know, maybe reaching out to people and see if we can't start some discussions a little earlier, particularly with, they're looking at a serious increase. You know?
Yeah.
And I know what's going to happen. That's going to be a serious increase to our savings.
Yeah.
So I'd like to carry that under old business if that would be acceptable.
That's fine.
Are you looking for a motion to be designated as the lead? I hate to say the lead sewer guy.
The lead sewer
The
guy?
lead sewer guy?
Well-
For a successor? So, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna end up having a working group or whatever, but for a successor IMA, right?
Right.
Like kind of, that's what happened with Suffield, with high speed. I mean, I would put forth the motion if you'd like it, so.
I have no problem doing that.
I'll make the motion then.
Yeah. I'll second the motion. All those in favor? Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
One. Anything else that you have on the new business on your sheet? No?
No, that was it under new
Okay,
business.
mine's on. Okay. Old business and dates to remember. First up is North Pond violation site visit and SPD input. Chief Landis, how are you this evening?
We could have Chief Landis
Come
join
on.
us. So that we could,
Thanks for waiting. How's the job going?
All expected. And that's,
Are you gonna want two cruisers or what? What are you thinking? How's that whole world looking? Equipment wise, getting equipment? No
this year
issues
will
yet?
be- This year would be a 3 cruiser year just because of the way the rotation works, but can't be.
No, it's all, just asking.
No, it's going good.
Good.
So, Matt obviously did the site visit. I was in another meeting that day.
Make sure you talk nice and loud for them.
What him and I were discussing, I mean, certainly we can enforce no differently than we always have with any parcel. I know the one option, Selectman Fox brought up with regard to the Fish and Game, being able to do an MOU with them, giving us powers for certain enforcement. I don't know that our hunters and stuff are the problem though that we're dealing with. So I don't know how that's gonna help all that much because trespassing laws don't change. So unfortunately with this incident here, prior to that, there was some littering and stuff that I had spoken to CRC about, and we put some proactive patrols going down there throughout the weekends, when a lot of the traffic from the boating was coming in and the people were coming ashore. That's, and I know a lot of volunteers were going down there and cleaning up, and they're looking at ways of how to dispose of the trash, because you can't have the barrels and stuff down in there, so they were hauling up top. Really, we can go as far with this as the board would like, as far as imposing trespass and different things for people who have violated a provision that's set by the state. The scenario we're talking about here and the individual, from what I can see, I think it was a well-meaning individual at first. Maybe didn't know the regulations with regards to what you can and cannot do on the state property. You know, certainly how the Conservation Commission went about the cease and desist order is something for you guys to make your own decision on. But if there was, you know, I haven't seen that there was anything criminal that was done with regards to that part of it. Like anything, there's definitely avenues that we can take if it were, and certainly if somebody else did it and we could show that they acknowledged that they weren't supposed to go in there and go against any of these conditions. There's always you know, complaints. There's things that can be followed up on. I think there was some mention about the wrecked vehicles and stuff that still go out into that area. It's very, very limited. You know, there's some signs of it, but nothing from what we once experienced. Most of the access to all those areas is usually been shut out by gates and development. Now, one possibility for some of those places is in the past, we put barriers, whether it be boulders or things like that, to kind of prevent, so people can still walk through, but no motorized equipment would be able to get through, such as a tractor, like in this scenario, because there was a fence that was physically moved for that to gain access. So we're open to enforce as much as the board so chooses. I don't know that this scenario dictates a lot of patrols. I mean, more than what we're already doing, because I think
We're there quite a bit.
yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And we certainly can't be there 24/7, unfortunately. But that's kind of where we're at with this.
I was just gonna say that Fish and Game is the one that suggested that we think about entering into an MOU with them. They did it in Ludlow to protect property up there. You know, and you'll have to talk to Rhett and some of the legal beagles, because I don't understand exactly, but they seem to believe that it helps because you'd be able to enforce all state regulations, you know, anything from drinking, campfires, trespass, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would be able to put up their signs with their rules, you know, at different entrances, you know, so make sure that people know that they have to abide by these rules, because the town of Southwick owns the property, but we operate under the Fish and Game directive, you know. And right now, we are not in compliance, you know, in essence, and this is kind of gets away from you, but for the rest of the board. In essence, we've got a mess on our hands. And no matter who went down there, what their intent was, as the landowner, we're responsible for correcting all the mistakes. And the meeting we had with Department of Environmental Protection, Fish and Game, Lieutenant Banish, Lakes Management, Grinnell, CAO, Steinhardt, our interim conservation agent, Dennis Clark. And am I missing anybody, Carl?
No, I think that represents the people that.
So, you know, we had the discussion, we talked about the particular incident, we reviewed the pictures that were supplied to us. Department of Environmental Protection pointed out some errors on how the Conservation Commission handled the particular incident. And they said that they would be trying to correct that tonight at their meeting. So hopefully they're going to do that. The bottom line is Department of Environmental Protection is going to work with the town as far as some of the serious erosion issues and come up with plans and suggestions. But that would be at the cost of the town of Southwick. And then Fish and Game is going to supply a plan to reestablish what is supposed to be down there. I.e., when you look at the photographs, one of the photographs right on top is the area that was cleared along the shoreline. There's even a flag that was put up there with signage that says, "Welcome to the beach." In essence, bottom line is, there's not supposed to be any beach there. And that when Fish and Game and Environmental Protection, when we walked the parcel, they basically said, look around at the rest of North Pond. And the vegetation comes all the way down to the water. And that's what they want to reestablish, that all that vegetation is allowed to regrow there. It was obviously that it was bulldozed. There was obviously that people have been cutting brush and trees to establish a beach in clear violation of our agreement with Commonwealth of Massachusetts and Fish and Game. But right now, they are willing to work with the town of South to assist the town of Southwick in a plan. So it's not going to happen overnight. But then we also talked, that's when we started talking about the MOU with the Fish and Game. And we talked about some of the steps that they've been taking to help protect different properties. You know, and some of the things are drastic, and I hope we don't have to do them. In certain areas, they explained to us that where they had shorelines taken out like that, they've even suggested plans where fences are erected so people cannot come in from the water, so that the land is not disturbed, so the vegetation can come back quicker. Like I said, Dave McWilliams, the vice chairman of the Conservation Commission, was at the meeting. He also did the site review with the rest of us, and he promised to go back to his committee tonight and begin that process, explaining to them. And there'll be additional walkthroughs, but again, we're waiting for the plan from Fish and Game and assistance from the Department of Environmental Protection to assist us. But like Bob said, I mean, one of these photographs clearly shows where the fence was bulldozed out to gain access. What was disturbing to me, you're going to see pictures of erosion. You're going to see violations of the Wetlands Act. Even myself down there, I pointed out to the vice chairman, I asked him of certain areas if there were violations of the Wetlands Act, and he said that absolutely, and that he was going to work with the interim conservation coordinator to begin the process of notifying people, and some of them were for land abutting this property owned by the town of Southwick. And the crying shame about all this is, $5 million was spent between the state and the town of Southwick. We have a 15-year bond on this issue. And the whole point of this and why we got the money was to preserve this in its natural state. And this is something where the town of Southwick should be proud, should be able to use this, but they have to use it responsibly. And right now, it's not being used responsibly. And I think this board is going to have to work with conservation, work with Fish and Game, work with the Department of Environmental Protection, and continue to monitor this along with our police department. I'd like to recommend to the board that we proceed with looking into that, signing that agreement with Fish and Game. I think it would offer us some protections. It would also allow them, when they have their environmental police officers on patrolling their property, to also patrol our property. We even threw out the idea of our sheriff's department is now helping us with our boat patrols. Possibly, I don't know if they have officers on ATVs, Bob, or not, so.
They would have to have an MOU with the Fish and Game for the same thing.
Right.
With the police reform, their whole scenario is gonna take on a whole new light anyways, the way it's kind of going, so. Certainly, whatever the winter recreation brings to the area is gonna be what we're gonna be dealing with
Yeah.
as the colder months, because the boats certainly won't be out there, and maybe ice fishing might bring some stuff to the shoreline as well.
Yeah.
I think the agreement, again, I think we already have quite a bit of laws now that we deal with and have for as long as I've been here, when that used to be Keg Party Central and everything else, those still are for us to use. But I mean, another tool in the belt's not gonna hurt for something that would come up that, we might be able to also enforce. Really, short of restricting access to that area, this is a very difficult task without personnel down there 24/7, or maybe some cameras, some other ways that we're gonna have to look, and obviously that comes with a cost.
Right.
I don't know if that's something the state is willing to partner up with, or
Right.
having visibility, being able, because you can get down there with a car and ATVs. But timing is, is all of it as well, so some other ways of having some eyes down there to maybe capture some violations. I don't know, short of shutting it down to everybody, how you achieve that.
Yeah, I don't think we want to shut it down. I mean, I think we just want it used responsibly. I think our biggest challenge, and it's going to be costly, is to reestablish the natural growth down there. Get people to realize they can't cut, they can't bulldoze, they can't clean stuff like that. I think we need to finalize the trails that were part of the agreement, and map them out. So you have a red trail, green trail, blue trail, with the mile markers, the whole thing. And then I think Fish and Game does have some, pretty interesting tactics that they use to get violators. And like they said, and like we've learned before over in that area, when the word gets around that there's enforcement, things tend to quiet down. But I think it's going to be a big job for the Conservation Commission, who are the guardians of this parcel, to get it back to where it's into compliance. And I think we're going to have to work with them, and we're also going to have to start looking for some financial assistance to achieve what we need to achieve.
Right. Mr. Fox, thank you very much for spearheading this. Right, I know it took a lot of time. Thank you to the police chief. I think this was a huge transgression. I mean, it'd be one thing if somebody went down there with some rakes and shovels with the best of intentions, right, onto town property to try to help clean up the beach, because we all heard stories over the past summer of what's going on there, or what some of all went on there. And everyone's been trying to figure out a way forward. This is a beautiful piece. The town spent a ton of money, of your money, to buy it and preserve it for everyone to enjoy. And I guess some people have a very interesting definition of enjoy. And okay, but I mean, as far as this goes, it's going to end up coming back to haunt the taxpayer. As far as if there's going to be any repercussions from this, I didn't catch the person's name. I'm not going to out them publicly here as to, what went on there. But, obviously with pure intent of what they're doing, if you pick up a fence to get your equipment onto town property in order to bulldoze it, and I gave my copy to everyone here so you can see what we're talking about here is literally bulldozing, the old Jones Beach. And, certainly if the town comes financially responsible, we need to look at that as far as how we hold this person responsible for the damage that was inflicted on town property. much like you go after someone that breaks town property and, they have to, you recover from them. That's one avenue. And the other is, you're right, we're gonna have to bring some other stuff to bear in order to stop it and send the message. And I'm not saying in this case, right? I understand, I don't think this rises to the level of criminality, but I think, getting into next year, we're gonna have to really start watching it better with technology and the resources that we can make available to try to make this place where people want to go and enjoy. I know during some of the Zoom meetings, there was folks that walk their dogs over there in a good way, right? And they enjoy the property for what it's for and what it was used for. And they say, well, we just don't go there on certain times of the days or weekends because, it's a little nuts. But we need to find that. But, I want to thank you for the effort you put in here. And, I think we got to work with the conservation and enforcement to make sure that we make this a place that's worthy of the investment that was put into it by the taxpayers of the town of Southwick. I'm sorry that Michelle left because I know she was a big proponent of that project. And, we just got to figure it out and how to get that better. There's a lot of people that fought really hard for it. And, it's a shame to see that what was done to it, even in the best of intentions, you can't go through a gate and say I had the best of intentions, but I picked up a fence to get my, my D5 onto the beach, right? You just can't. It doesn't pass the smell test to me. So that's it for me.
So Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask that this be carried under old business. And,
Please.
and it looks like we're gonna be carrying under old business for a couple of years until we can come into compliance.
All right.
And I'd also, again, like to have town council work with Fish and Game and Chief Landon.
He's young looking, that's the
Yeah,
problem.
That's the problem. He's too
Well, I
young.
thought he was delegating it to Dan anyway.
Well,
he may be.
or whoever he wants to
Whatever
delegate
works
it
for you, Chief.
to begin that process, because I think it also opens up the fact that shows Fish and Game that we are beginning the process. We are serious about coming into compliance. They might be able to offer us more assistance with signage and other help. So,
Selectman Fox was a representative from Fish and Game.
Rent's got his name.
Rent's got it.
Yeah, Brett's got all the details. Parties up there.
and again, Bob, not to be repetitive, they did do this up in Ludlow. So if you want to reach out to somebody up in
Yeah,
Ludlow,
well,
that might,
I mean, yeah.
instead of reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, so they're actually doing different than what you're doing now, right?
My guess is I will. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that would give us some more options is
Yeah.
definitely worth the investment.
And just as an aside, the Fish and Game did tell me that technically they own the Lupinski Preserve. And if we did enter into this agreement, it also would go with that.
Okay.
It wouldn't go for any of our other conservation areas or open space, but it would go for those two if we enter into this agreement.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Appointments for town boards, committees, cable TV, we're holding on that. Town hall roof design and project status.
Yes, I had a conversation with the designer last week on the roof, and they're looking at different issues to address how the HVAC is going to be incorporated into the building, the replacement. So that could affect either the back roof line or it could affect, a height issue of building a unit over the existing one. So at some point, they'll be out to see us in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we may have to have a joint meeting with the finance committee, because depending upon which of the options will still have different, different configurations, different price points,
Right.
things along that nature. So we'll have to be firming up which decision pathway we're going to go down, because then that leads to bids going out during the winter, and then us being able to bring the bid results to a town meeting, actual numbers. Okay. And again, we're fortunate that we didn't undertake a project like that this year, because between the cost of roofing materials and wood and steel and all that, this would have been a bad year to be doing a project because of the pandemic and the supply chain issues and the weights and contractors.
Right.
So we'll see where it ends up.
Then I have the,
Budget roundtable.
yeah, I put my glasses on, yep. The 23 budget roundtable, 12/2/2021 at 5:30,
Yep, at the Powder Mill School
Powder Mill
Library.
library.
Mhm.
Then I have the fire department station roof masonry front window section.
Right, as you know, they did do the project over there, but the one outstanding punch list item of the work they did on the window, it did not take all the leaking, so obviously we have a series of credits coming in. They're gonna be doing some additional work within that money of those credits to address it with another subcontractor.
Gotcha.
So that is underway, and they don't believe they'll need winter conditions for that.
Okay. And
Do
now-
they, just clarify, I mean, we've been trying to fix this leak for quite a while. Are they 90% sure this is gonna do it, 100%?
It's a whole other, it's a redesign to take all of the windows out, with flashing and redo everything all the way through.
I think they're $29,085 sure they're gonna do it.
Yep.
Hey, if they're renting a lift, tell them we got something we could use instead. It only costs us $1 million to park it in the firehouse. We'd be glad to
Oh,
give those guys
truck.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not.
save people some money.
Well, it's, you know, the credits we have for masonry are gonna more than offset this, so.
You mean to tell me the building designed by the lowest bidder and built by the lowest bidder has a leak?
No,
I'm shocked.
just the window,
I'm shocked.
just the window. All right, so I'm gonna go back to our old
Give me 20 years.
agenda.
Correct.
And I have Concom.
Mr. Didi.
Mr. Gee, do you know how, or Kyle, do you know how much that credit you might be getting back for the problems with the window?
No, this is not an issue that this contractor or any of these people did. It's just a resolution of an issue. We're getting credits for other masonry work that didn't have to be undertaken. So we're gonna come out ahead.
In the original quote, there was so much masonry that we didn't have to do. And this time around, we actually hired someone to oversee them who literally did a hell of a job, and that's why there is a credit. I don't
Right,
think
an
if we-
actual clerk.
If we didn't have clerk of the works there, there'd probably be, what are you talking about? So,
We're actually gonna have a clerk of the work. We have a clerk of the works, the same one doing this roof too. So, and obviously any of the money that we can save on one project, we can put toward this.
the next one. Okay, my old agenda has the Concom
I know, I
coordinator
saw that. I don't know why.
position option for shared role with Blanford.
Right, so that's something that obviously, I know, Joe,
So-
you would talk.
So
to
I
Dave.
just want to clarify something before we get going. We didn't get rid of Dennis Clark on conservation. Dennis Clark got a decent job in Westfield as the weights and measures. And he's doing very well over there, and we would never have competed salary rise. And he's actually now our weights and measures person through
Right.
Westfield. So I just want to clarify that.
Why, who made such a statement?
I'm just gonna say that there was something out there that said that maybe we got rid of him. He didn't. He gave a 2 weeks notice. He did everything the right way. And
See,
then,
that's what hurts
and
people's
then
lives. is
we
when they
actually
start
got him to
using
come
this.
back. We got him to come back part-time until we can find someone
Oh, right.
to do it. So,
Yeah, that's something that you and Chris and I worked on.
yes, I did meet with Chris and what's his name? David. Yeah. Okay,
So obviously, this is the next step in that process where
Right.
we had spoke to the regional planning agency and they said, well, they didn't have anybody on their staff like before. They had sent us over when we needed people,
right.
but they didn't have anybody under this role. And of course, I checked with some other of my peers and it's just been one thing after another. I think Dave McWilliams indicated there's a good number of openings like this
35?
throughout the state, over 30 of them.
Yeah.
So that's why when I spoke to the regional planning agency, they had mentioned that Blanford was looking to do something. So now we're just having dialogue.
Right.
Nothing definitive, but
No.
if they're interested, but they're gonna have to show us that they have all the funds allocated so that they'd be able to pay for their share of it.
If we can even make that work, right.
Right, so
Absolutely.
that if they're inclined to do that, then you and Dave
Yeah.
myself would be speaking to them, and then we would
Right.
have that in place, and then we could then go on with the selection panel with both communities represented to find the appropriate person.
Right.
Because that might make it an attractive way of doing it.
True.
Secondly, we've also had discussions with the program chair who runs the program at Westfield State University for some of his contacts.
Yeah. Okay.
So nothing definitive yet.
Nothing definitive,
Nope.
and judging by our Board of Health situation, and I think some other things are gonna steamroll in front of us here within the next few months, that's just the way it's gonna be. There's just no one out there. Whether it's Board of Health, whether it's Concom, who else knows what's coming next, but.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like that throughout the, right? You having a hard time filling positions?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. So
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
I mean, for the time being, the Board of Health does have Tom back.
No, we're fine there,
Previous one.
and Dennis is on part-time for us
Yeah,
now,
and
and it's working,
the,
but
you know, we are starting to get applicants that are submitting for the Board of Health.
oh, are we? Great, wonderful. Good to hear. Okay, so that's what I have on this. Carl, anything else for old
I
business?
think you just want to be reminded that you have a Veterans Day ceremony next Thursday at the town common. You know, so that's, I don't have the time on me, but it'll be early, like 9:30. There is no parade, because when I went to the rededication of that new panel
Yes.
during the 50th day, since we were all split up and we were all doing different functions.
We were.
Because it was a very busy day with a lot of events. So I just want to remind you, send you the specific time, but it's usually 9:30, 9:45.
And what day is that? The 11th?
Next Thursday.
11/11.
11/11.
Let's see.
So,
Anything for old business, sir?
No, sir.
Mr. Mogul?
No, sir.
I do not have anything at this time. Do we need executive session?
no, sir.
All right, so we need a roll call vote to end the meeting, right?
I'll make a motion to end the meeting. Second.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye. Doug Mogul, aye.
Folks, the meeting is adjourned.